want to tell you the story behind the story of the song, the very famous Christmas song, Silent Night. It was on a cold Christmas Eve in 1818 when Pastor Joseph Franz Mohr walked the 3 kilometers from his home in the Austrian village of Oberndorf to visit his friend, Franz Gruber, who lived in the neighboring town of Arnsdorf. Mohr brought with him a poem he had written some 2 years earlier. He desperately needed a carol for the Christmas Eve midnight mass that was only hours away. He hoped his friend, who was a school teacher and who also served as the church's choir master and organist, could set the poem to music. And one of the many amazing things about this carol is that Franz Gruber composed the Stille Nacht melody for Mohr in just a few hours on that December 24th in 1818. Recent flooding of the nearby Salzach River had put the church organ out of commission, so Gruber composed the music for guitar accompaniment. A few hours after Gruber finished his composition, he and Mohr stood before the altar of the St. Nicholas Church in Oberndorf to perform their own work. A local choir group backed them up as the sounds of the brand new carol broke the silence of that Stille Nacht. Because flooding had damaged its foundation, the St. Nicholas Church was demolished in the early 1900s. The Salzach River, which also flows through nearby Salzburg, has a tendency to flood. So for this reason, the entire town of Oberndorf was relocated to a less flood-prone location, some 800 meters upstream in around the 1920s. About the same time, a new parish church was constructed and a small memorial chapel replaced the original Nikolaikirche. For many years in the latter half of the 19th century, when the carol was beginning to become more popular, people who knew anything about Stille Nacht assumed that the melody must have been composed by a more famous composer, possibly Beethoven, Haydn, or even Mozart. Although Gruber had made a written claim as the composer prior to his death in 1863, doubts lingered on into the 20th century. The question was officially settled only several years ago when an arrangement of Stille Nacht in Joseph Mohr's hand was authenticated. In the upper right-hand corner of this arrangement, Mohr had written the words, Melody von Franz Gruber. Around 1832, when Gruber's melody was performed by folk singers from Austria's Ziller Valley, several musical notes were altered, and the Silent Night melody became what we know today. Austria's Stille Nacht Society not only works to protect the Mohr-Gruber legacy, it encouraged the use of the original notes that Gruber composed. In Austria, Stille Nacht is considered a national treasure. Traditionally, the song may not be played publicly before Christmas Eve, and any commercial use of the 180-year-old carol is verboten. Contrast that within the situation in most other countries, where you're likely to hear Silent Night playing in the local shopping mall or even as part of a radio or TV commercial. Nevertheless, Silent Night enjoys a revered position among Christmas carols all over the world, no matter what it may be called or in what language it may be performed. you.